Men, let's start with a truth most people are afraid to say out loud. In love, you don't lose yourself all at once. You lose yourself one small compromise at a time. A silence here, a surrender there, a moment when you sense something's off. But you stay anyway because you hope it'll change. And that's how strong men fall. Not by being weak, but by being too patient with disrespect. The Stoics taught, you have power over your mind, not over events. That includes love. You can't control her words or feelings. But you can control what you accept, what you ignore, and when you choose to walk away. Today we'll go through 7 phrases. Each one looks harmless on the surface, but underneath it hides a truth, a signal. And if you understand these signals, you'll never waste your strength again. 1. I don't need you. The disguise of pride. When a woman says, I don't need you, it can sound at first like strength, like independence, like empowerment. But listen closely, and you'll hear something else hidden inside those words: distance. True independence is not the rejection of connection, it's the ability to choose it freely. When a woman is genuinely strong, she knows that strength and partnership are not enemies. She knows that love is not about neediness, but about the meeting of two whole people who decide, consciously, to share their worlds. But when she says, I don't need you, what she's really saying is, I can take you or leave you. She's declaring that your presence is optional, that your energy, your leadership, your care are conveniences, not treasures. And that is not independence. That is pride disguised as power. Healthy love is built on interdependence, two people leaning on one another without losing their footing. It's mutual respect, not silent competition. It's saying, I could stand alone, but I choose not to, because together we are stronger. But pride twists this truth. Pride says, I don't need anyone. Pride mistakes vulnerability for weakness, and it makes a virtue out of isolation. In reality, it's fear. Fear of closeness, fear of accountability, fear of being seen fully. You don't have to argue when you hear those words. You don't have to convince her otherwise. You don't even need to defend yourself. Just listen. Feel the distance in her tone. The way she uses the word need as a weapon instead of a bridge. Because underneath that phrase lies a silent message: you are replaceable. And the moment someone starts to see you as replaceable, the respect begins to die. Not all at once, but quietly. In small dismissals. In eye rolls and forgotten gratitude. In moments where your efforts go unnoticed because she's too busy proving she can do it all herself. Marcus Aurelius once said, it's not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live. Think about that. A man who stays in a relationship where he is unwanted isn't living. He's existing, half awake, hoping that love will someday return in full form. He tells himself that this is strength, that this is loyalty. But really it's fear. Fear of solitude. Fear of letting go. Fear that he'll never find someone else. Men, you don't have to stay where your presence is treated like a burden. Love is a choice, not a chain. And sometimes walking away isn't abandonment, it's alignment. You're not leaving her. You're returning to yourself. Walk away, not in anger, not in pride, but in peace. Because clarity is not cruelty. It's compassion for yourself and even for her. She has every right to not need you. She can build her life, her dreams, her independence. That's her journey. But you have the same right. The right to go where your time, your effort, your love are valued. A man's worth is not proven by how long he stays where he's not wanted. It's proven by how calmly he walks away from what no longer honors him. So if she says, "I don't need you," don't answer with words. Answer with action. Because silence, grounded in self-respect, speaks louder than any argument ever could. You're not leaving because you've lost. You're leaving because you finally understand that love without respect isn't love at all. It's endurance. And endurance without meaning is just another form of slow death. Choose life. Choose clarity. And walk where you are valued. 2. You deserve better. The kind lie. It sounds noble, it sounds selfless. You deserve better. A simple phrase that seems wrapped in care. But underneath that softness there's something else. Guilt. Because when someone truly values you, they don't remove themselves from your life in the name of kindness. They don't say you deserve better. They become better. They rise, they repair, they recommit. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And nowhere is that truer than in relationships. Men often suffer not because of the breakup itself, but because of the story they imagine around it. A story where she's the noble one, sacrificing her happiness for yours. But let's call it what it is. This phrase isn't a gift, it's a shield. A way to leave without feeling like the villain. A way to end something while keeping her conscience clean. When a woman says, "You deserve better," what she's often saying is, "I don't want to give you my best anymore." Or worse, "I've already stopped." It's not an act of love, it's an act of escape wrapped in flattery. If she were honest, she'd say, "I don't want to keep trying." But honesty requires courage, and courage is the one thing people rarely have when they walk away. So they choose the kind lie instead. Imagine a general standing before his army saying, "I'm saving my men," when in truth, he's retreating out of fear. That's what "you deserve better" really means. It's the emotional version of retreat, fear dressed up as selflessness. And fear never leads to victory, not in war, not in love. Here's the quiet truth most men don't want to face. When she says, "You deserve better," she's already gone. Emotionally, mentally, maybe even physically. She's halfway out the door, and the phrase is her way of closing it gently behind her. You might want to believe otherwise. You might tell yourself she's saying it because she's broken, or because she thinks she's not good enough. But love doesn't say goodbye for your own good. Love stays and fights. When someone uses pity to end something, they're not protecting you. They're protecting themselves from guilt. They can look back later and say, "I tried to do the right thing," while leaving you confused, haunted by words that sound kind but feel hollow. So when you hear it, stop searching for hidden meaning. There isn't any. Take the words as they are, not as you wish them to be. Because when someone says you deserve better, what they really mean is, "I can't or won't be what you need." Don't beg for clarity. Don't argue for another chance. Don't ask her to stay when she's already decided to go. Instead, do the one thing she doesn't expect: agree. Say nothing. Let her leave with her story intact. Because it's not your job to fix her narrative. It's your job to write your own. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That principle applies to love too. And "you deserve better" is neither right nor true. It's avoidance disguised as compassion. So don't try to decode it. Don't romanticize it. Let it go. Because in that moment, she's not giving you truth. She's giving you closure without responsibility. And you deserve something much rarer than that. You deserve honesty. You deserve respect. You deserve peace. So when she says, "You deserve better," believe her, but not for the reasons she hopes. Believe her because you finally realize you do deserve better. And better starts with walking away. 3. I need to find myself. The modern escape. It sounds deep, it sounds noble. When someone says, I need to find myself, it almost feels spiritual, like they're setting out on a journey of growth, wisdom, and healing. But most of the time, that journey isn't toward enlightenment. It's toward escape. Let's be honest, people rarely find themselves by walking away from the ones who care about them. They find distraction. They find novelty. They find comfort in uncertainty because it feels like movement. But growth isn't about movement. It's about direction. The phrase, I need to find myself, has become the modern way to say, I want space for confusion. It's not always malicious. Sometimes it's just emotional immaturity disguised as self-awareness. But make no mistake, it's an emotional smokescreen. There's nothing wrong with wanting space. There's nothing wrong with evolving, reflecting, or even struggling to understand who you are. But when that desire turns into abandonment, when finding myself means breaking loyalty, breaking trust, and walking away from the very person who stood beside you, that's not growth. That's avoidance. You can evolve without disappearing. You can learn without betraying someone who believed in you. True growth doesn't require destruction, it requires honesty. When she says, I need to find myself, what she often means is, I want freedom without responsibility. I want you to stay available, but I want to feel single again. I want to see what else is out there without fully losing what I have. It's an emotional half measure, not an ending, but not commitment either. And it keeps you trapped in a waiting room with no exit sign. Epictetus said, freedom is the right to choose your own chains. That's a profound truth. Because real freedom doesn't mean cutting every tie. It means choosing the right ones. If her idea of freedom means destroying everything that once gave her grounding, then that's not liberation. That's fear of accountability. Men, here's the truth you need to see clearly. If she truly loved you and still wanted to grow, she could do both. She could say, I need time to reflect, but I still value what we have. She could include you in her process, not erase you from it. But when she uses finding herself as a curtain to disappear behind, you don't need to chase the shadow. You don't need to wait by the door. Because while she's finding herself, she might just be finding someone else. That's not cynicism, that's pattern recognition. When people detach, they often replace. When they talk about freedom, they often mean options. So let her go. Don't fight for what's walking away under the banner of self-discovery. You can't rescue someone who confuses solitude with escape. Let her take her journey, but take yours too. And make sure yours leads somewhere. Because while she's out searching for meaning, you can be building purpose. And purpose isn't something you stumble upon in the chaos of emotion. It's something you forge in the quiet of discipline. There's a difference between searching and building. Searching is passive. It relies on the world to reveal something to you. Building is active. It relies on your will to create something meaningful. So don't wait for her to come back enlightened. Don't tell yourself that one day she'll realize your value and return changed. If she finds herself, she'll find a version of life that no longer needs you. If she doesn't, she'll still return empty, and you'll have lost your momentum waiting. Marcus Aurelius said, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." So aim higher than waiting for someone lost in confusion. You don't need to find yourself through someone else's absence. You can define yourself through action, through purpose, through progress. And when you do, you'll understand something she might never learn, that the self isn't found in running away. It's built by standing firm where others flee. 4. You're too good for me. The confession of insecurity. It sounds sweet, doesn't it? Almost humble, almost romantic. When she says, "You're too good for me," it feels like praise, like she's recognizing your worth. But don't be fooled. That sentence carries a quiet kind of poison. Because what she's really saying is, "I can't or won't rise to meet you." It's not humility, it's surrender. And surrender in a relationship is the slowest kind of death. At first, it can sound like self-awareness. You might even admire her honesty. You might think, she just feels unworthy. Maybe my love can prove her wrong. But you'll soon learn what many men have. You can't love someone into self-respect. When she says, "You're too good for me," she's telling you that she doesn't believe she can meet your effort, your discipline, your vision, or your consistency. And when someone feels perpetually smaller beside you, only two things can follow: resentment or retreat. Seneca once wrote, "It's not that we have little time, but that we waste much of it." Men waste years trying to heal the wounds that women refuse to treat themselves. They pour energy into reassurance, telling her she's enough, telling her she's worthy. But in doing so, they slowly become smaller to make her feel taller. They trade their power for peace, and that peace never lasts. Understand this clearly. You can't fix insecurity by shrinking yourself. You can't build confidence in someone who insists on standing in the shadow. If she truly valued you, she wouldn't tell you that you're too good. She'd challenge herself to meet you there. She'd say, "I want to become as good as you think I am." That's humility with direction. That's love with purpose. But when she uses the phrase as an excuse, "You're too good for me, you deserve better," what she's doing is creating emotional distance before she physically leaves. It's an early farewell wrapped in flattery. You may think her honesty is beautiful, but the truth is, she's already letting go. Not because you did something wrong, but because she doesn't believe she can keep up. Insecurity doesn't always come as tears or jealousy. Sometimes it comes dressed as self-awareness, as humility, as realism. But underneath, it's still fear. And fear doesn't build connection, it builds escape routes. The danger is that men often fall for this trap because it strokes their ego. They think, "I must really be special if she feels that way." But that illusion fades fast. Because soon, your goodness becomes a mirror that reflects everything she hates about herself. She'll start to withdraw, to push you away, or to find reasons to justify why this relationship can't work. Here's the truth. If someone tells you they can't meet your standard, believe them. Not because you're arrogant, but because they're showing you their ceiling. Don't try to lower your expectations to make her feel safe. When you do that, you don't save the relationship, you strangle it. Because the moment you stop being the man you are to make her comfortable, you confirm her fear that you were never real to begin with. So when she says, "You're too good for me," don't argue, don't correct her, don't plead for her to see her own value. You've already done enough. Just pause, breathe, and agree silently. Not with arrogance, but with clarity. She's right. You are too good, not because of status or perfection, but because you refuse to stay where your value must be minimized for someone else's comfort. Walk away, not to prove anything, but to protect everything: your peace, your purpose, and your self-respect. Because a man who knows his worth doesn't chase validation. He simply walks where his presence is appreciated and leaves where it becomes a burden. 5. I'm not ready for commitment. the disguise of uncertainty. Let's be honest, no one is ever truly not ready. When someone says that, they're not talking about time. They're talking about you. They're saying, I'm not ready with you, because when the right person appears, readiness doesn't take years. It happens overnight. Fear becomes focus. Doubt becomes decision. Excuses disappear. That's not magic, that's conviction. So when you hear, I'm not ready for commitment, don't get trapped in fantasy. You're not being asked to wait, you're being asked to stay blind. And blindness has never protected a man, it's only delayed his pain. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." I'd add this, waste no more time convincing someone to see your worth. Because the longer you wait for their readiness, the more you teach yourself to accept hesitation as love. And hesitation is slow poison to your purpose. Think about it. No one is truly not ready for commitment. People commit every day. They commit to jobs, to friends, to habits, to distractions. What they mean is, I'm not ready to commit to you. That's not about capacity, that's about choice. A woman who values you won't hide behind timing. She'll act. She'll rearrange her life, her fears, her comfort zones, because conviction doesn't wait for perfect circumstances. Commitment isn't about timing, it's about clarity. Men often make the mistake of interpreting not ready as an invitation to prove themselves. They think, if I just show her how patient, kind, or stable I am, she'll change her mind. But what actually happens is more dangerous. You end up performing for someone who's already decided they're not buying tickets to your show. And while you wait, she moves on. Maybe not physically, but emotionally. She starts living like she's free while you live like you're loyal. You stay hopeful, thinking she just needs time. But she's not taking time to prepare for you. She's taking time to detach from you. Seneca wrote, "While we wait for life, life passes. And while you wait for her to be ready, your best years drift quietly by." You lose momentum. You lose edge. You lose yourself in the illusion that patience will one day be rewarded. But love isn't a reward system. It's a mirror. And if the reflection looking back at you is indecision, that's your sign to move on. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to shame her for her fear. But you do have to protect your direction. Because a man without direction becomes a man without respect, from others and from himself. The Stoics never taught us to chase comfort. They taught us to face truth without trembling. And the truth is simple. When someone says they're not ready for commitment, what they're saying is, I don't see this going where you want it to go. That's not cruelty, that's clarity. Don't turn it into a project. Don't build your identity around waiting. Waiting is passive. Building is active. One drains you. The other defines you. So stop waiting for potential. Choose presence. Walk toward clarity, even if it means walking alone. Because a man who walks alone in truth is stronger than one who waits in illusion. And when you finally understand that, you won't chase readiness anymore, you'll attract it. Because the moment you stop trying to prove your worth commitment, you become the kind of man who doesn't need to ask for it. 6. My ex was better. The ultimate disrespect. There are few phrases that cut deeper than this one. My ex was better. It doesn't just sting, it dismantles something sacred. Because at its core, comparison is the death of love. When a woman says, my ex was better, she isn't simply describing the past, she's weaponizing it. She's holding up a ghost and asking you to compete with it. And no man can win that fight, because ghosts don't age, don't argue, and don't disappoint. They live in her memory, edited and polished by nostalgia. You can't outshine a fantasy that no longer has to live in reality. Let's be clear, this isn't about ego. It's about respect. Respect is the foundation of any relationship. Without it, love is hollow, intimacy is fragile, and trust becomes a performance. Once she crosses that line and compares you to another man, the relationship stops being a partnership. It becomes a silent contest you never agreed to play. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." What that means is, pain comes not from what she says, but from what you believe about what she says. You might think her words mean you're not enough, but they don't. They mean she's lost her gratitude, her focus, her emotional maturity. So don't let her words define your worth. Let them define her character. Because comparison doesn't reveal truth about you, it reveals weakness in her. It tells you she's still chained to her past, still clinging to memories instead of building a future. And you cannot build a future with someone who keeps glancing backward. If she's still looking over her shoulder, she'll never see the man standing right in front of her. Men often make the mistake of thinking they can prove they're better. They work harder, love louder, give more, hoping that one day she'll wake up and realize their worth. But that's not strength. That's desperation disguised as loyalty. You cannot earn respect from someone who's already given it to another man. You can't fix what nostalgia has poisoned. Because nostalgia is selective. It remembers warmth and forgets coldness, remembers passion and erases pain. You'll spend your energy fighting a memory that never really existed the way she remembers it. When she says, "My ex was better," she's telling you two things at once. First, that she still defines love through comparison. Second, that she's not capable of seeing you as your own man. She's looking for replication, not connection. And here's the truth. If you stay, you'll slowly become a reflection of her regret. Every argument, every silence, every distance between you will carry the weight of someone else's name. You'll become a placeholder for what she lost, not a partner for what she could build. That's not love. That's emotional recycling. And it always ends the same way, with resentment on both sides. No man wins by fighting a ghost. No man thrives by living in comparison. You can't outshine a memory that's built on fantasy. But you can rise above it by walking away with your dignity intact. So when she compares you, when she mentions another man with that wistful tone in her voice, don't argue, don't compete, don't try to remind her of your value. Because a woman who can look at you and speak of another man in superiority has already shown you everything you need to know. Walk away quietly. Let her keep her past and take your peace. Because a man who understands his worth doesn't fight for validation, he guards his energy. And the man who can walk away from disrespect doesn't lose anything. He simply refuses to carry someone else's ghosts into his future. 7. You need to change, the most subtle trap. Change is part of every human story. No relationship can survive without it. Growth demands flexibility, humility, and the courage to evolve. But there's a line, a quiet but crucial one, between evolution and erasure. When someone says you need to change, the question you must ask is not how, but why. Because behind those words could live two very different intentions. If she challenges you to become more disciplined, more patient, more grounded, that's love. That's someone who believes in your potential and wants to see it realized. That kind of challenge sharpens you. It doesn't shrink you. It's the difference between a partner and a critic. But if her demand for change comes with disdain, if she wants you to soften your strength, mute your voice, or walk away from your purpose, that's not love. That's control. Love refines, control reshapes. Love inspires, control dictates. And when you start changing, not because you see truth, but because you fear rejection, you're no longer growing, you're disappearing. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Be tolerant with others, strict with yourself. That's the posture of a wise man." But notice, he didn't say, "Be strict according to others' desires." Your discipline should come from your values, not from someone's shifting expectations. When you reshape yourself to earn approval, you trade authenticity for acceptance. And that trade never pays off. Because here's the truth. A woman who says, "You need to change," without clarity or compassion, doesn't want to build with you. She wants to remodel you. And the moment you agree to that, you confirm her belief that your worth depends on her satisfaction. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And that's the lesson every man must learn in love. Freedom is not rebellion, it's alignment. It's knowing who you are so clearly that you can adapt without losing your core. The tragedy is that many men mistake compliance for harmony. They think that by bending, they'll build peace. But peace bought with self-betrayal is temporary. Because once you give up your essence to make her comfortable, you'll never be seen as strong again. Not by her, and not by yourself. She'll stop admiring you, even if she doesn't know why. Because deep down, respect cannot exist without resistance. A woman cannot respect a man who abandons his principles to please her moods. So when she says you need to change, pause. Don't react defensively. Don't fight. Don't explain. Ask yourself one quiet question. Does she want me to grow or to disappear? If her request is about growth, you'll feel it. It will challenge you, but it will still honor you. If it's about control, you'll feel that too, the tightening in your chest, the dull ache of being unseen. That feeling is your compass. Listen to it. Because change rooted in fear is not transformation, it's submission. And submission to someone else's version of you is the fastest path to resentment. The man who forgets who he is to keep love alive will one day look in the mirror and see a stranger staring back. That's not growth, that's self-abandonment. So if she truly loves you, she'll want to see you become more of yourself, not less. And if she can't handle your truth, your drive, your direction, then the only change you need to make is changing direction, away from her. Because the one thing a man must never trade, not for comfort, not for love, not for peace, is himself. Closing, the discipline of respect. Men, everything you've heard comes down to this. It's never about her words, it's about your boundaries. Every phrase, every test asks the same question. Will you protect your dignity or trade it for comfort? Love without respect isn't love. It's dependency dressed as devotion. And the moment you start explaining your worth to someone who refuses to see it, you've already begun to lose it. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." So guard those thoughts. Don't let someone's confusion become your identity. Don't let a careless phrase convince you to shrink. You don't need anger, you don't need revenge. You need clarity, the kind that walks away quietly, not to punish but to protect. Protect your peace. Protect your direction. Protect your self-respect. Because the strongest men aren't the ones who fight to be understood. They're the ones who walk away from what no longer honors them. A man who respects himself doesn't need validation. He moves forward in silence, carrying one unshakable truth. Walking away is not weakness, it's mastery.